From the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View with your host, David Goins.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to Capitol View. Thanks for being with us. The new Arkansas legislature taking shape a little bit more this week. I'll be joined by new pro tem of the Senate, Jonathan Dismang, as well as Democratic Senator Bruce Maloch. And a little bit earlier this week, I had a chance to sit down with 3 women of influence in the natural state featured in this month's edition of Arkansas Money and Politics magazine. But first, we begin at the state capitol, where Governor Mike Beebe gave his final budget to state lawmakers, and with it, a warning about tax cuts scheduled to take effect next summer. At the Capitol on Thursday, the outgoing governor actually presented 2 budgets as promised. One includes delaying over $25 million in planned tax cut. The other would leave those cuts in place that lawmakers agreed to during the 2013 session. Now, if those cuts stay, it would mean a 1% cut to all state agencies starting in June of 15, including higher education. The outgoing budget director says that's even before tax cuts that have been pushed by Governor-elect Asa Hutchinson.
I doubt that anybody wants to shut down prison units, but you could shut down some prison units, or you could drastically eliminate the things that are provided to the prisons.
Now, Weiss added no one is pushing that route, but he did say the legislature has few other areas to cut if more tax cuts are approved besides prisons and higher ed, because K-12 education is off limits. In fact, their budget is increasing. The governor-elect also taking time to talk about the proposed budget that his predecessor, Governor Beebe, presented. Asa Hutchinson says he is still working on a 1% income tax rate for middle-income Arkansans without cutting state services.
I'm fully committed to funding education, funding our essential services of this state, and I have no doubt that we can do that consistent with having the middle-class tax cuts that I campaigned on. And now how we arrive at that, that's what I've got to focus on between now and then.
And a lot of that focuses on more or less the future of the private option. Will it stay or will it go? A group fighting to keep that law intact, as it says proposed changes to the compromised Medicaid expansion could actually hurt those who benefit from the new coverage. That, according to Arkansas Advocates for Children and Family, which this week said as the state has asked for a federal government tweak to some parts of the law, including requiring co-pays for some recipients and ending access to non-emergency transportation for things like rides to the doctor. Now, while AACF watches that, what happens with those changes, they're also aware that a growing number of lawmakers, of course, recently elected, want to end the private option altogether.
The legislative makeup has changed a little bit. It's really hard to imagine the decision that takes health coverage away from 211,000 folks. So we're ready to work with whoever we need to work with.
Of course, that include Republicans, Democrats at the General Assembly, Governor-elect Asa Hutchinson as well. Now, leaders in the General Assembly say they to expect some changes to the private option, but the specifics probably won't know till a little bit later on, and we'll talk about that with our political long table as well. Governor Beebe suspending a controversial pardon for a registered sex offender. Michael Jackson was originally convicted of stalking a 14-year-old girl online. Jackson actually has close ties with the Beebe family and made a note of that in his pardon application. But in an affidavit filed in Faulkner County Circuit Court this week, Jackson was also accused of exposing himself to women and selling drugs to children. The governor said he wanted to give Jackson a second chance, but that won't happen if the accusations that came out this week are proven to be true.
When you have an accusation in a sworn affidavit, you can't rush to judgment one way or the other, and you have to see how things play out.
Now, the governor announced his intent to pardon Jackson earlier this month. There's a 30-day grace period to work out issues like this before a pardon is granted, so that one is on hold. Martha Schaffner headed to trial once again after a plea deal was rejected on Monday.
Why are you changing your plea this morning?
Well, it's not a change.
What are you doing today in court?
The former state treasurer walked into court intending to plead guilty to 1 count of mail fraud to dismiss 9 other counts, but a federal judge rejected the plea deal because Schaffner said it was never her intent to use campaign funds to pay for her personal expenses at the time she asked for the money. A federal jury convicted Schaffner earlier this year on a separate bribery and extortion charges. Her new trial is now set for February 2nd of next year. New members of Arkansas's congressional delegation getting familiar with their offices in Washington this week. Some have been there before. Senator-elect Tom Cotton joining other newly Republican senators alongside new Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. In addition to electing a new senator, Arkansas also picked up 2 new congressmen, both Republicans, French Hill in the 2nd District and Bruce Westerman in the 4th District, taking a tour of the Capitol this week themselves. Now, they won't be sworn in until January 3rd, but both say they're ready to get to work.
I think my background of 30 years in business, business is all about bringing people together for a common mission, and I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for the betterment of our economy and the betterment of the people of Arkansas.
I think the first thing we need to do is get a budget, and I hope to be part of the budget process. Until we get control of our budget, we'll never get control of our deficit spending and our debt.
All right, well, coming up after a quick break, State Senators Jonathan Dismang, Bruce Maloch join me to discuss the upcoming 90th General Assembly and more. I'm David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
I hope I've got this right.
It's going to be perfect.
Whether you're doing it all yourself or you're looking for a little help, you'll find the low prices and great food you need to make this year's Thanksgiving a complete success at your neighborhood Kroger.
This looks great, honey.
Thank you.
The Buy 10, Save 5 sale is on now. Mix and match items like Doritos, General Mills cereal, Green Giant canned vegetables, and more. Share a little holiday joy with Kroger.
I want you to think about 2 amazing flavors, my killer butterfly shrimp and my melt-in-your-mouth buttermilk biscuits. Now imagine those flavors together. Say hello to my new Popeye's buttermilk biscuit butterfly shrimp. 2 incredible flavors in one amazing dish. Big, beautiful shrimp breaded in a buttermilk biscuit batter. 8 shrimp, fries, a biscuit, and blackened tartar sauce for just $4.99. Buttermilk biscuit butterfly shrimp. I know, that's a mouthful.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries in Arkansas. Please listen closely, especially if you have Medicare and Medicaid. You may be eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare Health Plans for no monthly premium. Call 1-866-547-4338 right now to see if you qualify. WellCare provides access to local and regional network doctors and hospitals and benefits like dental, vision, and hearing. Over-the-counter drugs, a 24/7 nurse hotline, plus prescription coverage. Call now, 1-866-547-4338. Representatives will provide you detailed information and help see if you qualify. There are no costs or obligations to determine eligibility. WellCare is contracted with Medicare to provide plans that may be perfect for you. It's time to feel better about your Medicare. Call 1-866-547-4338 today.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. We now turn to our political long table for this Sunday morning, joined by 2 senators in the Arkansas State Senate. Senate Pro Tem Jonathan Dismang from Beebe and Searcy, and Senator Bruce Maloch from Magnolia. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us on.
Okay, so Friday was a busy day. You guys were at the Senate for a good portion of time, kind of getting everything straightened out as far as committee assignments and so forth, some of the fun stuff. I'll start with you in your kind of position as Senate Pro Tem. How do you feel the Senate will kind of proceed through this session? Because obviously everyone is talking about the private option.
I mean, we're still at a point, I think, you're looking for folks to establish what priorities are going to be. You saw a little bit of that today in the way the committees were selected. But I mean, we've got a lot of big issues standing in front of us, and kind of like we talked about today, leading up to the session. There's been a challenge that's going to be issued at us because a lot of the seniority that's left in the Capitol is in our chamber, and we've got a lot of responsibility, and we're going to lead well.
Senator Maloch, obviously, Democrats and much more the minority now. I think someone's called it the loyal opposition. What's kind of your take on how maybe Democrats landed at least some numbers on some committees to to be a factor.
Well, I think we did, but I'll even go back to 2 years ago when the chamber first changed majority parties, and it was a very smooth transition then. Certainly, we're in even more of a minority this year, but still, we've worked with Senator Dismang, a number of the other senators, and certainly we don't have the numbers that we've had in the past. But I think we'll contribute. We may differ on some issues, but we'll work together, and we look forward to it.
Is there any sense of kind of what happens when the session starts in January? Because there's always that feeling out period of, well, are they doing anything for the first few weeks? There's a lot of going back. I mean, what do you see as maybe the topics that you guys would start to tackle if there's an order to that?
And I'm not really sure exactly what it'll be. That'll be based on what's pre-filed before the session actually starts. Right. There was kind of a unwritten rule last session that we would not pre-file any bills. That will not be in place this time. And that should help us kind of kick off maybe a little bit quicker than we did last session. But as far as priority, I mean, again, that's going to be up to the membership, and we're still ways out. And today was really kind of just the first step.
So pre-filing can start when?
I'm not sure on the date.
But soon, I mean, relatively soon. Not as late as last time.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Did that make the session go smoother or less smooth with that late of a pre-file?
I mean, I think there's pros and cons to pre-filing. It kind of starts the topic or the discussion a little bit quicker, so I think that's good. But at the same time, it probably distracts some from our organizational and kind of being able to kickstart just in general for the session. But I think it'll be good.
And even though it may appear slow, there's still work being done behind the scenes. We don't have as much time maybe in committees or in chamber. But I think a lot of the first month also is going to be waiting on Governor-elect Hutchinson. I think both parties to see, particularly with respect to the private option, how he comes down on that, and because that has such an impact on the budget as well.
Yeah, and Governor-elect Hutchinson talked about waiting till a little bit longer in the session to maybe present a budget. Also saying, maybe late January before he knows exactly his feel on the private option. Does that present any maybe complications as far as getting stuff done on time?
No, I mean, I think he's trying to be prudent, with the issue and with the budget, and I think that's what we would expect and want, out of him as governor. And so, I don't believe so. And my argument's always been that, folks, in regards to the private option, people should be able to take their time, look at the issue, look at the impact, look at how it impacts their community, and then make a decision. And we have a lot of new members. Now, granted, a lot of those have taken pretty firm positions, but still, I think that they'll want to take the time to learn about the program and see what the possibilities are as we move forward.
And we have smaller agencies and boards and commissions that are not funded with general revenue. We can go ahead and work those through the process.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys get a sense that you can get everything done in a regular session? Because it already sounds like it's not a buffet, but there's a lot on the plate already, and maybe if you're not doing private option until a little bit later, is it too early to be handicapping an idea of a special session? I mean, it just sounds like there's a lot out there. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't think we should ever have a goal of having a special session. No. It may come to that, and there are some good things about the limitations about what can be discussed in a special session. But I mean, it's our goal to get our job done as quickly as possible and get back home, and I think we'll be able to do that.
And you kind of touched on this. You've said that the private option probably won't survive in its current form. Mm-hmm. Any sense of what potential changes that would mean? Because we haven't had pre-filing, but what are some other options?
No, I mean, I don't think it's too early to say at this point. I mean, the people that are going to influence that still are, like I said, probably in the information gathering, position, and so until they're able to do that, I don't think we have really much room for discussion right now.
What do you guys see in the Senate chamber? Obviously everyone's talked about private option in prisons, and obviously you got to figure out tax cut and budget. Is that it? Does that make a full session right there?
It's certainly a large part of it, and even Medicaid, separate from the private option portion of Medicaid, will require greatly increased funding, and so those are all big issues and will be the major issues of the session.
Okay, I think we're just about out of time. Senator Bruce Maloch and Senator Jonathan Dismang, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
No, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay, when we come back, some of the leading women of influence here in Arkansas are here to talk about their stories of success and how they feel about female representation at the Capitol. I'm David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Man, these boneless chicken wings are great.
Yeah, I know, and I finally found myself a wingman.
You're gonna use the wing as your wingman?
Yeah, for the ladies.
How is that gonna help you at all?
It's gonna make me irresistible.
Oh, right. Yeah, gonna give you that certain je ne sais quoi.
Jenna said what?
Jenna?
Did she mention me by name, or was it just kind of like, was she just talking in general?
I said je ne sais quoi.
I know, but what did she say?
Be a wingman with new all-white meat boneless chicken wings in 3 flavors. And treat yourself to a new waffle cone sundae. This is how you Sonic.
I think this might be the one.
I call dibs.
Dibs? You can't call dibs.
Oh, actually, we do honor dibs at Toyotathon. But with all these great deals on so many vehicles, you know,
Dibs!
really... Okay.
Dibs! I got it.
Dibs!
My dib! Dibs!
And here we go again.
Toyotathon is on. Right now, get $2,000 or 0% financing for 72 months plus $500 on a new 2014.5 Camry, the best-selling car in America.
It's the best dibs I ever dibsed.
Toyota, let's go places.
Now that's a pleasant surprise. Just like direct auto insurance, you can get low-rate, flexible payment plans and great services regardless of your driving history. Like 24/7 roadside assistance. Check out our new lower rates and be pleasantly surprised with direct auto.
Koch Industries started in the heartland, and we've expanded to nearly every state. Today, that's more than 60,000 American jobs. You may not always see our name on the products you use, but we help make better food, clothing, shelter, technologies, and other necessities. Here, we build on each other's ideas to create more opportunities for people everywhere. Together, we are Koch.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. I'm David Goins. We're going to take some time this morning to talk about the latest issue of Arkansas Money in Politics magazine and its Women of Influence issue. It's on newsstands now. Sarah Lillygreen of Tyson is on the November-December cover, as you see there. And inside features successful Arkansas women in a variety of disciplines. And we're excited to have 3 of them with us this morning. We will start with the provost of Arkansas State University, also a vice chancellor as well, Dr. Lenina Cooksey. Good morning. Absolutely. And to her left, CEO and founder of internet broadband web and marketing firm Aristotle Inc., based here in Little Rock, Marla Johnson. Good morning. And the Chief Executive Officer of St. Bernard Healthcare in Jonesboro, Ms. Beverly Nix. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so the Women of Influence issue in Arkansas Money and Politics magazine really has an opportunity to feature women throughout the state in a variety of disciplines. I'll start with Ms. Nix. The portion of the interview that you had talked about the value of frank and direct interaction in a business setting. Why is that such a valuable asset in the workplace?
Well, I think that when I have observed younger women, they may have brilliant ideas, but they haven't found their voice yet, and they haven't developed their sense of confidence to allow them to go forward and state what their opinions are on business projects, classes, anything else that they're involved with. And until you get frank and able to effectively communicate, it might hold you back. So I think it's very important.
And valuable probably for any gender to be
Absolutely.
Forceful and clear in that. Dr. Cooksey over at ASU in Jonesboro, you talked about in the article the influence that your mother had, most specifically in her running the family business. How important, how integral was that in the development of your professional life?
Well, I think for me, I didn't grow up ever thinking there were any boundaries for a woman. I just thought that whatever it was that I wanted to do and pursue was an opportunity for me. So I didn't really grow up with a stereotype that this was particularly a male job or a female job. My mom and dad had started a business together. My mother carried that business on. And so I watched her doing what many women in the 60s, which was somewhat unusual for women in the 60s, was running a business. And so when it got time for me to go to college, I went into the biological sciences, which is not terribly unusual for women, but still was pretty much more of a male-dominated area, and I continued on through the sciences, and I just I just felt that, you know, the door was open. I didn't see any boundaries, and so for me it was a little different from maybe some of my colleagues or even for some of my predecessors that came through that were in an era where there was more of a gender role in terms of what women did and what men do.
And you talked about kind of that lab environment, being the only woman maybe in a lab in Texas. And I'll turn to you, Ms. Johnson. Kind of the same deal when you started Aristotle more than 20 years ago. Before that, you were with a group of programmers coming up with a game for EA, as the article points out. But I want to ask you, because I know this is something that you feel passionately about. Sometimes when you hear programmers, Google, it seems like it's a male-dominated industry. How have you been able to really influence that from your perspective?
Well, it is a male-dominated industry. It's less so now because marketing online is such an important component of what we're doing, and there are a lot of women who are now in that field, but definitely still on the development side and a lot of technical fields, IT, networking. We still have largely male domination, and so it's been really important to learn to communicate with men and women, and because there's so much collaboration, technical, strategic, marketing, creative, you really have to be able to communicate directly, say what you need to say quickly, and make sure that people are understanding you and not pigeonholing you because they think that you can't understand technology. And you've talked about the importance of mentoring, just following up on that. Do you go to colleges? Do you go to other places where maybe young women are looking to maybe get in the tech world and they see yourself as, oh, okay, this is someone who's doing it, I can do this as well? Absolutely. Colleges, high schools, but also we have a lot of women developers now. We have a lot of women in all different roles at Aristotle, and so there are a lot of women who are coming up in the ranks. Very good. I'll kind of open these next couple questions up to just whoever wants to answer. Is there a particular challenge that you feel faces women in Arkansas in a business setting that maybe the state continues to maybe need to work on a little bit more? I'll start with you, Ms. Nix.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like Dr. Cooksey. Being raised in a family business, you did the job. And it wasn't, she's a girl, let's let her do that. So I really am not a good one to answer that, because any field that I've walked into, if I try my best and I take direction well and I work extremely hard, I've done all right.
And I've really had that same experience. I do know, I look at the trends on a university campus through the years and looking at the distribution of our students in terms of females and males. And we probably have just a few more females than males on our campus. But I'm looking at many of our roles, and I look at the sciences, and there are more women today than there probably have ever been in the sciences. I look at some of our areas, and particularly in business. Business is well represented with women. Now we get into some of the areas such as more of the programming areas of computer science that still seems to have more males. But then we get into the areas which are like information technology that deals with networking and communications and advertising and marketing, and we see a lot more women in that area. More of the traditional, what I'm going to say traditional computer science still seems to be a little bit more male-oriented. When I look at our engineering programs, which women have been creeping into very slowly, we're still a little bit behind in terms of having as many women engineering students as we would like. It's still pretty much a male-dominated area. But even the tide has changed in nursing and health profession. We used to always look at nursing as being more of a female-dominated profession, and now we have many, many males that pursue our nursing levels, whether it's at the baccalaureate or the master's, or even now at our doctoral level. So in the healthcare, clinical lab science was one of those areas that was predominantly female, but it probably is well represented. Radiologic sciences, again, a lot more males. So we're seeing, a
diversification.
Yes, we are. We are.
Let me ask you this question, because Capitol View deals with, oftentimes most weeks, a lot of things dealing with politics. Of course, Arkansas Money in Politics also, it's in the name, so they cover that as well. Looking at the State House for 2015, I've already kind of looked at who's going to Little Rock, who's not. The state population, 51% women, pretty much consistent with the United States. 20 out of 100. A lot of times people say they want government that represents, demographically what the state reflects. Is it troubling at all to see that low of representation? I'll start with I'll start with you, Ms. Nix.
Well, I have to look at who ran. So, you know, I don't know that women are wanting that position from what I've seen of who ran in the elections. Most of the races were male, you know, in the runoffs. So I don't know that it bothers me to a great degree. You know, I'm always excited when someone with a great mind and energy and love for the state is elected regardless. So that's what I look for.
Thoughts either from Ms. Johnson or Ms. Cooksey?
I would like to see it a little bit higher, but again, you know, at any given year, it's going to be basically who chooses to run. I will say that my experiences when dealing with various legislative committees, such as the Education Committee and so forth, I've seen passion, whether they were male or female. There have been some women who have served as chair of that committee and other committees, and they've done an excellent job, but I see passion from both genders. So again, if it's in there, if it's something
so
they
20's okay.
Yeah.
That's a consensus.
Well,
No,
you know,
I'd like to see more.
I'd like to see more too.
I think that we have to back it up, though. I think that we have to encourage more young women and more women to run for office. I think we have to support them and train them, and you know, they're not going to just come out of nowhere. I think that a lot of women don't think that they're capable. They tend to be very self-critical, in my experience, you know, maybe more critical of themselves than their male counterparts, so they don't even know that they would be qualified or would do a great job.
And I think the comment she made on encouragement is very important, because that's exactly right.
Okay, very good. Beverly Nix, Marla Johnson, Lenita Cooksey, thank you all so much for joining us, and congratulations on being in the issue for November and December.
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, well, stay with us. We'll have more Capitol View right after this.
During the Veterans Day Salute at Denver Mattress, we're featuring two of our most popular mattresses at one great price. The Richmond Eurotop with indulgent memory foam that conforms to the natural curve of your body. The Telluride Plush delivers supreme pressure-relieving comfort and motionless support. And as a gesture of our appreciation, all veterans and active duty military get free delivery during the Veterans Day Salute. Get a great night's sleep for a great price at Denver Mattress.
What's that?
Subway Big Hot Pastrami.
Pastrami?
No, pastrami.
Pastrami!
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 Get your own Subway Big Hot Pastrami Melt, a monument to flavor loaded with dry rub, pepper-crusted beef, mustard, and pickles. Subway, eat fresh.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
All right, we closed this morning at a look at 10 years of the Clinton Presidential Center in Little Rock. It's cold this morning, but 10 years ago, well, it was quite soggy for the opening, as many remember. The Clintons this weekend holding a concert on the grounds of the Presidential Library, and a day of service actually scheduled for later today at the Arkansas Food Bank in Little Rock. And an economic study released on Saturday shows investment in downtown Little Rock and North Little Rock topping $2.4 billion since the location for the library was announced 17 years ago. Quite the impact. Well, that is it for today's show. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Every time you earn a paycheck, a little part of it went to pay the government for your Social Security disability insurance. When you paid in, you did your part. Now, if you can't work because of a physical or mental condition, you have a right to the benefits you paid for. At Rainwater Holt in Saxton, we help people get the Social Security disability benefits they deserve. Rainwater Holt in Saxton, 1-800-434-4800.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries in Arkansas. Please listen closely, especially if you have Medicare and Medicaid. You may be eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare Health Plans for no monthly premium. Call 1-866-547-4338 right now to see if you qualify. WellCare provides access to local and regional network doctors and hospitals and benefits like dental, vision, and hearing, over-the-counter drugs, a 24/7 nurse hotline, plus prescription coverage. Call now, 1-866-547-4338. Representatives will provide you detailed information and help see if you qualify. There are no costs or obligations to determine eligibility. WellCare is contracted with Medicare to provide plans that may be perfect for you. It's time to feel better about your Medicare. Call 1-866-547-4338 today.
I believe people can taste the difference family makes. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I believe they can taste it in not only their experience with our product, but I believe when you say your family has prepared something for you, you have a pretty high expectation of what that's going to be. And when this cup of coffee delivers on that, you realize that the family has made a difference.